The Strangers Who Saved Me, Why Divine Provision Doesn't Always Knock First. You know what nobody warns you about when life falls apart? It doesn't send a memo. There's no calendar invite for catastrophe. One moment you're convinced you got the blueprint figured out, and the next you're standing in rubble, wondering if you'll make it through the next hour, let alone the next 5 years. I recently had the profound honor of sitting down with Nichelle Burr on the Soft Girl Era podcast. And this woman, this incredible force of grace and grit wrapped in radical softness, is rewriting what it means to face the terrifying unknown with faith that refuses to flinch. Nichelle is a trailblazer who's helping thousands of women understand that survival mode isn't a permanent address. She's teaching us that the cape we've been conditioned to wear as Black women, the one that whispers, we must carry everything alone, that asking for help is failure, that softness somehow betrays our strength. That cape, it's a lie. And Nichelle is helping women everywhere take it off, fold it up, and walk away. Her story centers on a 5 year divorce so brutal it could have shattered her spirit entirely. But instead of collapsing under uncertainty's crushing weight, Nichelle discovered something that changed everything. God's provision doesn't always arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it shows up through strangers. Sometimes it comes through divine connections we never saw coming. And sometimes the very people we assumed had nothing to do with our narrative become the ones who carry us through the darkest valleys. This isn't just about surviving a nasty divorce. This is about learning to trust when the path ahead is pitch black. This is about releasing the mythology that we have to white knuckle our way through everything life throws at us. This is about opening our hands, our hearts, our lives to receive what God is trying to give us, even when it arrives wrapped in the most unexpected packages carried by people whose names we don't yet know. Let me take you deeper into what trusting the unknown actually looks like when it's lived out in real time. Because Nichelle's story isn't some isolated miracle. It's part of a larger movement of Black women who are finally understanding that survival mode isn't a badge of honor worth wearing. It's a cage. In softness, softness is the key that unlocks it. Consider Shamakia White, a Black mother of five who faced a 60-year federal sentence and the soul crushing loss of her son to gun violence. If you want to talk about the unknown, about staring into an abyss so dark you can't see bottom, Shamakia lived it. She didn't just face uncertainty, she confronted systemic injustice head on. She carried grief so heavy it should have crushed her. She felt the suffocating pressure to be the superwoman who holds everything together without asking for a single hand to help carry the load. But here's what Shamakia did that changed everything. She embraced vulnerability. She shared her story publicly, raw and unfiltered. She built advocacy networks for Black children. She leaned into softness not as surrender, but as strategy. And something remarkable happened. Strangers became her lifeline. Podcast communities she'd never met amplified her voice after her release. People who didn't know her story became the hands and feet of divine provision. Shamakia transformed unspeakable pain into purpose, and now she's a beacon of resilience, inspiring thousands through testimony so raw it makes you feel every word in your chest. She's shifting entire narratives in Black communities, moving us from grind culture to communal softness, fostering spaces where healing fuels leadership instead of exhaustion fueling burnout. That's what happens when you stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting that God's provision often wears a stranger's face. Or think about Black Girl Ventures, founded by visionary Black women leaders like Shelley Archambault. This organization exists because these women recognized a brutal, undeniable truth. Black women entrepreneurs were drowning. They were isolated, overworked, suffocating in a biased ecosystem that offered no holistic support, no safety net, no space to breathe. So they built something radically different. They centered community, they created shared resources, emotional safety, pitch competitions that provided funding without demanding you sacrifice your sanity on the altar of hustle culture. They built what I call soft infrastructure: therapists, co founders, peer circles, systems designed to counter survival mode with sustainable success. And the results? Hundreds of Black women founders funded and supported, proving once and for all that softness, rest, delegation, and community aren't luxuries for the privileged. They're the foundation of real, lasting, transformative success. Black Girl Ventures is living, breathing proof that provision comes through the people God strategically places in your path during business unknowns, during financial uncertainty, during those moments when you're one bad month away from closing your doors, just like Nichelle experienced during her divorce. These women learned that divine connections aren't accidents, they're answers. Then there's Dr. Joy Bradford, a Black psychologist who's guiding high achieving Black professionals through burnout and racial trauma with trauma informed care that actually heals instead of just managing symptoms. Dr. Joy looked at the endless resilience demands, the pandemic burnout, the violence, the guilt that comes with even thinking about softness in professional spaces. And she said, enough, no more. She promotes rest. She champions joy. She teaches emotional honesty and the power of peer circles. She's helping people reclaim thriving over survival through safe storytelling and vulnerable community. And what's happened? She sparked a movement where softness becomes an act of resistance, fueling sharper leadership and deeper creativity. She's broadening society's entire view of Black excellence, building community safety nets that echo divine provision in life's most uncertain moments. Dr. Joy is proof that the experts and communities God places around us aren't random. They're not coincidences. They're divine appointments designed to carry us when we can't carry ourselves. These stories, Nichelle's included, all point to the same truth. And I need you to hear this clearly. When you're in the unknown, when you're walking through that valley where you can't see 2 feet in front of you, where every step feels like it might be your last, God's provision often arrives through people. Not always the people you expect, not always the people you'd choose if you were writing the script, but always, always the people you need. Here's what Nichelle wants you to remember. And I'm going to say this slowly because it matters more than almost anything else you'll hear today. First, it's God's provision is rarely predictable, but it's always personal. It's tailored to you, to your specific need, to your unique season. Second, the people he places in your path during your hardest seasons aren't interruptions to your plan, they're interventions in your pain. And third, trusting the unknown doesn't mean you're not scared. It doesn't mean you've got it all figured out. It means you're choosing faith anyway, even when your hands are shaking and your heart is pounding and you can't see the next step. So, what do you actually do with this? How do you step into facing your unknowns with faith in God's provision when everything in you wants to control, to plan, to muscle your way through? Nichelle's challenge is simple, but not easy. Stop trying to control every outcome. Start paying attention to the people showing up in your life, especially the unexpected ones. Ask yourself this question and be honest. Who has God placed in my path right now that I've been too proud, too scared, or too busy to receive help from? Write their names down. Reach out. Say thank you. Say, I need you. Say, I'm learning to trust that you're here for a reason, that you're not an accident, that maybe, just maybe, you're the answer I've been praying for. And here's the other piece that might sound strange, but is absolutely essential. Start practicing softness as a spiritual discipline. I know that sounds wild in a culture that worships the grind, but think about it. Softness means being open, it means being receptive, It means creating space for God to move instead of muscling your way through every single thing with clenched fists and gritted teeth. It means dropping the cape without apology. It means setting boundaries without explanation. It means resting without guilt. It means embracing healing in real time instead of putting it off until someday when life slows down, which, let's be honest, never actually comes. It means redefining strength not as how much you can carry alone, but as how willing you are to let others carry you when you need it. Because here's the truth we don't talk about enough. Strength isn't about isolation, it's about connection, it's about trust. It's about opening your hands and your heart and saying, I can't do this alone. And I'm finally okay with that. Nichelle wants you to feel something right now. And it's not just inspiration in that vague motivational poster way. She wants you to feel held. She wants you to feel it deep in your bones, that unshakable knowing that you can actually do this. She wants you to feel ready to trust the unknown, not because it's comfortable, because it's not, but because you're finally convinced that God's got you, especially when you can't see the whole picture. This is the heart of the soft girl era. It's not about being weak or passive or checking out of life. It's about being strong enough to be soft. It's about unlearning survival and rediscovering the joy, rest, and freedom you deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. It's about recognizing that the unknown isn't your enemy, it's your invitation to trust deeper, lean harder, and receive more fully. Nichelle Burr walked through 5 years of hell and came out the other side, not because she had all the answers, but because she learned to trust the God who does. She learned to see strangers as angels. She learned to see divine connections as lifelines. She learned that provision doesn't always look like a check in the mail or a door swinging wide open. Sometimes it looks like a friend who shows up with groceries when your pantry's empty, a lawyer who takes your case pro bono when you can't afford justice, a stranger who speaks a word of encouragement at exactly the right moment, a word that keeps you going for another day, another week, another year. So here's my question for you, and I want you to sit with it. What unknown are you facing right now? What valley are you walking through where you can't see the next step? And more importantly, who has God already placed in your path that you haven't fully received yet? Who have you been too proud to call, too scared to trust, too busy to notice? Because here's the truth, and I need you to hear this in your soul. You are not alone. You were never meant to do this alone. The unknown is terrifying, yes, but it's also sacred. It's the space where God shows up in ways that will blow your mind if you're willing to pay attention, to open your eyes, to receive. It's where strangers become family. It's where provision arrives wrapped in the most unexpected packages. It is where you learn that softness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's where you discover that trusting God doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're choosing faith anyway, even when your knees are shaking. Nichelle Burr is living proof that you can face the unknown and not just survive, but thrive. She's living proof that God's provision is real, personal, and often delivered through the people you least expect. She's living proof that the soft girl era isn't about giving up. It's about finally letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that you are held, you are seen, you are loved, and you are provided for. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, this week. Drop the cape, open your hands, pay attention to the people showing up, trust the unknown, even when it's terrifying. And watch what God does when you finally give him room to move, when you stop trying to be everything to everyone and start receiving what he's been trying to give you all along. Because the provision you need, it's already on its way. It might be wearing a stranger's face, It might arrive through a connection you never saw coming. It might look nothing like what you expected, but it's coming. And when it arrives, I want you to receive it. Not with suspicion, not with pride, but with open hands, an open heart, and a willingness to believe that maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what you've been praying for. Stop trying to see the whole staircase. Just take the next step. Trust that the people showing up aren't accidents, they're answers. And remember, softness isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you'll ever do. It's how you survive, it's how you thrive, it's how you finally come home to yourself. The unknown is waiting, and so is your provision. Will you receive it?